But another sector that's been very newsy lately is space. And that's because SpaceX announced that last week a tie-up with T-Mobile to launch these satellites that are going to beam cell coverage directly to cell phones across the globe. Am I right in that?
Yes. So SpaceX announced something with T-Mobile where SpaceX is going to launch a constellation of satellites into orbit, and those satellites are going to beam cell coverage to cell phones across the world. T-Mobile covering cell phones.
Okay, so that's pretty awesome, pretty cool. I know, I'm sure that, especially for the people who don't have great cell coverage, it sounds like great news. What does this mean, and what do you think about it kind of moving forward with the whole space proposal?
Right. So I think what a lot of people don't comprehend, which is pretty wild when you think about it, is our entire world is built on the internet, is built on digital technologies, is built on cellular coverage, built on mobile apps, built on software applications. Yet, and I'm trying to pull up the numbers right now. So our entire world is built on that, right? But there are so many people in the world that don't have internet. So if I look at the numbers here, in North America, 95% of people have the internet. In Europe, 90% of people have the internet. It's a ubiquity. It's common. But then let's go to even like Oceania, the Australia region. That's only 70% internet penetration. And then let's go to Asia, only 67% internet penetration. And let's go to Africa, only 47% internet penetration. So what I'm trying to get at here is our way of life is defined by something that still billions of people across the world do not have. That's wild. Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Netflix, Microsoft. These companies have built multi-hundred billion dollar, in some cases trillion-dollar empires on the back of the internet, yet the internet is not available to billions of people across the globe. So what happens when those billions of people get internet coverage, get cell coverage, are able to tap into their phones in the middle of anywhere and go and shop on some e-commerce site and are able to chat with their friends via some social media site? What happens then? We literally unlock a doubling or tripling of the global size of the size of the global digital economy. We add trillions of dollars, tens of trillions of dollars to the global economy when that happens. So it is of paramount importance. And I think one of the biggest untapped opportunities in the world today, economic opportunities in the world today, is getting those 54% of people in Africa, getting them the internet. Those 33% of people in Asia, getting them the internet. Those 30% of people in Oceania, getting them the internet. The 22% of people in the Middle East without the internet, getting them the internet. Getting those people the internet, getting global internet penetration rates up to North America standards of 95%. If we do that, when we do that, we're going to unlock so much economic opportunity, so much. And that is kind of what SpaceX is trying to do with these satellites, right? The reality is we can't go down, or the capital infrastructure, the capital investment required to build cell towers and internet towers throughout Africa, throughout Asia, throughout the Middle East, throughout Oceania, that is a huge capital intensive undertaking. It's going to require a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of infrastructure, a lot of people, a lot of resources, a lot of labor. That is a massive investment, and no one's been willing to take that investment because we're not sure the ROI. Okay, maybe they do call the internet. Are they really going to shop online? The ROI is questionable and it's very long tail. So no one's been willing to take on that massive risk of building out the infrastructure. But if you mitigate the risk to just flying a few satellites up into space, then they beam down internet coverage, they beam down cellular coverage to all of these places on Earth, then all of a sudden you can do it. You don't need all this investment to connect the world to the internet, to connect the world to cellular coverage. You just need a few satellites. So that's what SpaceX is doing. SpaceX is saying, hey, we can fly satellites up into space and do for a fraction of the cost at a fraction of the time what it would take,
Mm-hmm.
billions upon billions upon billions, even $100 billion to build out the infrastructure in Asia and Africa to get these people onto the internet. So that's what the SpaceX T-Mobile deal is all about. And that's why it's super exciting, because it enables, or it's basically paves a pathway for us to bring all these people onto the internet, to bring all these people onto cellular coverage, and thereby
Mm-hmm.
make them more economically value additive persons of the world. That's sort of the big thinking there. Now, the SpaceX deal, though, is pretty rudimentary. It's just, believe it's just text and low quality calling. It's not
Okay.
very advanced technology that they're proposing.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other companies out there that are working on more advanced technology, like 5G, high speed internet connectivity, beamed directly from a satellite to a cell phone. And that
Mm-hmm.
technology could solve the problem I'm just talking about, bringing on all these people, bringing them all onto the internet. But it also solves, okay, let's say you're out camping. And, a lot of times when you're camping, you don't
Mm-hmm.
have cell coverage, or you're out on a long hike in Grand Canyon, Sequoia, Redwood, you're visiting a national park, you don't have cell coverage. You can get cell coverage with
Mm-hmm.
these satellites now. Let's say a natural disaster hits Tokyo. Let's say a natural disaster, an earthquake hits San Francisco, something happens, cell coverage goes down because the cell towers probably
Mm-hmm.
get hit by that. This will allow people to have cell coverage even in natural disasters, which could be of paramount importance to even saving lives in those situations, right? So that's very important. And then another aspect of it is for um, talk about flights and planes,
Mm-hmm.
and when you're in transit. I'm going on a plane today, and I deal with plane Wi-Fi all the time. It's horrendous. Plane Wi-Fi is the
Yeah.
worst thing on the planet. This would allow us
Mm-hmm.
to have cellular coverage on demand all the time in planes. So, the this idea of developing a constellation of satellites to beam 24/7 on demand internet connectivity to everybody across the globe whenever they want it, however they need it, is a huge idea. It is a
Mm-hmm.
multi-billion-dollar idea, and SpaceX is working on it,
Mm-hmm.
and several other companies are working on it. And I think it's an idea you want to be invested in today. Which horse is going to win the
Mm-hmm.
race? Tough to say. Very tough to say. Everybody's early
Mm-hmm.
stage. It's going to be a lot of execution going forward, but you want to bet on a lot of horses in this race, because one of these horses is going to win, and whichever horse does win is going to be a very, very, very valuable company. This is a very valuable enterprise in the making.
Now, when we're talking about space, obviously, we're talking about SpaceX. They need to have, a rocket to launch the satellite up in orbit. Obviously, space was in the news yesterday. We had the Artemis 1
Right.
get scrapped. How does something like that, when the media is covering, a rocket that's supposed to go up, it's the first of its kind in a long time, and it gets scrapped? What does that kind of do to the markets when it comes to space, if anything?
It's not a big deal. Here's what people have to understand. People really view like failed launches or delays as like huge deal breakers. We're talking about rocket science, folks. Rocket science. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
makes, it's not rocket science when you're fixing a sprinkler or when you're plumbing. It's not rocket science. Well, this is rocket science. And when you're doing rocket
Yes.
science, you have to be 100% precise. It's not 99.9%. It's not going to cut it, because that
Mm-hmm.
0.01% is how the rocket goes boom, or is how people
Yeah.
die. It's how things get
Mm-hmm.
destroyed. You can't have 0.01% error. You have to have 100% accuracy. So if they're going to take a week or a month or a quarter or even a year to get from 99.9% to 100%, do it. It's
Mm-hmm.
worth it. Because
Okay.
once you get up into space and you can do these things, it's fabulous, the economic opportunity and even the societal opportunity you can unlock. One could say that man landing on the moon in 1969 brought the United States together in a way that it hasn't been brought together ever since. So there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
societal value here as well. It's not just economic value, but that
Mm-hmm.
aside, I think what you have to realize is, do not freak out about rocket launch delays, about rocket launch,
Mm-hmm.
failures, lack of an explosion. If there's an explosion, that there's something that went terribly wrong. But delays are just par for the course here. And if you're going to be invested in
Okay.
space stocks, if you're going to be interested in the space economy, you have to just take
Mm-hmm.
delays on the chin. They're going to hit the stock, and you just got to be like, all right, that hurt a little bit, and then move on, brush it off. That's how you have to
All
deal
right.
with delays in the space economy. For example, Virgin Galactic, right? That's a stock
Mm-hmm.
that's been, it went from $10 to $55, $60, it's come crashing back down. It's a single digit
Mm-hmm.
dollar stock now. And the reason it's been crashing is because of delay, 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 delay.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
even for us, it's getting tiresome. They've been delaying commercial space operations forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. It was supposed to happen this year. It's not going to happen this year. It's supposed to happen first quarter 23. Not going to happen first quarter 23. Now it's going to happen second quarter 23. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. Who knows? Like, this delay has killed the stock. But guess what?
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, they're going to launch. And when they
Mm-hmm.
launch, they're going to be one of only two companies, maybe the only company in the world that can do what they're doing. And there's going to be a lot of demand to get on those ships and go see space. So,
Mm-hmm.
whenever that launches, this company is going to generate huge revenues and competitive moats, field of one. They're going to turn those huge revenues into huge profits. Those huge profits are going to lead the stock going significantly higher. So, if you're invested in space stocks, you got to brace for volatility. You got to
Mm-hmm.
take delays on the chin, and you got to brush
Mm-hmm.
them off, move on, and stay focused on the big picture. I think Virgin Galactic stock is
Mm-hmm.
going to be fine long term. I think a lot of these other space stocks that have been crushed are going to be fine long term. There are a couple out there that are jokesters
Mm-hmm.
and frauds. You want to stay away from those. I'm not going to break apart which ones are good and which ones are
Mm-hmm.
bad here on this podcast. But what I will say is that there are space stocks out there right now that are significantly
Mm-hmm.
undervalued and represent generational investment opportunities. Buying them today,
Mm-hmm.
holding them for 5 years, these are stocks that could go 20x, 30x, 40x, 50x in that time frame. And so, if I were a long-term investor with a 5+ year horizon, one of the spaces I'm looking at right now, no pun intended, is space. I think there are some great
Okay.
opportunities there.
Thanks for watching HGI Clips. For the full episode, head on over to our sister channel at Hypergrowth Investing by clicking the link in the description or listen to the podcast on any of your favorite streaming platforms. We make new episodes every Wednesday, so make sure to check it out and subscribe to never miss any of Luke's Hypergrowth insights.